Yo, what's up, guys? It's Travis and Jon here with the intro to our probably one of my favorite episodes we've done yet on our podcast.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really good, actually. We have a amazing guest. I'm really surprised we got him on, but the flow of the podcast went great. I was so happy with it. I was really nervous about getting him on because, I don't know, to me he's like kind of a big deal because coming from CrossFit. And he was kind of like a wish list for me. You know what I mean? Like, you're like people that I really like to interview. And this guy is one of them. His name's Jason Khalipa, if you guys know who he is. He is the 2008 Games champion, regional champion, been in the Games, I don't even know, 8-9 times. And he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt.
Yeah, he was a really nice guy, and, not only is he all that, but we had a lot of things in common. Coffee,
Yeah, it was pretty funny. He was talking about his beverage of the day, and what does he say? He's like, yeah, my beverage of the day is a sparkling water because it's a little too early to have an old fashioned. And I was like, well, that's your fault, Jason. I mean, I would have an old fashioned right now if I could. They're delicious. There's at any time of the day is an old fashioned kind of day for me. But yeah, it was really good. Jon, what did we talk about? Some of the stuff in the episode.
Man, we talked about strength and conditioning. We talked about a lot of things that always interested me, and I needed that subject matter expert to ask the question to. And for a lot of people, it's how much can you really work out in the same day? So we talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that was a good one. What else? We talked about he brews his own coffee or his own espresso beans now. So we figured out. I asked him how does he get his raw coffee beans, because I don't know where to get them, and it'd be kind of cool to actually try brewing my own coffee beans.
Yeah, and you guys had that nice bonding moment on each having the same machine.
Yeah, yep. He's the reason we got the Breville espresso machine. If you guys are looking for a good espresso machine, I highly recommend the Breville. What else? There was some other stuff.
Practicing during this COVID time and what works for, certain people and individuals, what their jiu-jitsu might look like. Yeah,
and we talked about his business. He owns NorCal Strength, or NCFit, sorry. Used to be known as North Cal CrossFit, I think it was, NorCal CrossFit. Now it's called NCFit. He has a very successful business in fitness. He was talking about how he has 20 locations, including his corporate wellness, which is like corporate buildings have his gym inside of it, which is awesome. And then he has 100 affiliates worldwide that use the NCFit licensing, which is amazing. So they use like his programming, whatnot. I was like, that is so cool.
That's when you made it, right?
Right.
Like you had a vision. You're meeting the vision.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a great episode. I was really happy with it. He talks about how he got into jiu-jitsu, how he was heavy into CrossFit, trying to win the games, kept going to the games, and then unfortunately his daughter got leukemia. And then as he started to wind down from CrossFit, he found jiu-jitsu. And he has a background in boxing and Muay Thai and whatnot, and then jiu-jitsu grabbed him, and he's been doing it for, I think he said 2016, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so coming up for 4 years. Just got his purple belt the same time we got our blue belt. So
yeah, I'm sure he's an animal with that conditioning he has.
Yeah, dude. It was crazy to hear. One of my favorite things he talks about is he talks about using his strength as a white belt, and how he even used it, white belts just freaking spaz on people, and how he would like grab people when he first started, and they would instantly escalate because his strength was like scared the crap out of him, how strong he was. So that was really funny too. But anyways, it's a great episode. You guys will thoroughly enjoy it. So Jon, what do we have for our beverage of the day?
Well, I have a really good Malbec right now. Somebody turned Travis onto these, so he had one in the kitchen. It's delicious. I like it.
It's a 2019.
Yeah, it's not sweet at all.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, if you guys don't like red wine, I was not a big red wine drinker, and Jon, like he said, showed me Malbec, and it's easily the only red wine I will really drink now.
It's a good sipper. It's not sweet. It doesn't taste like too oily or anything.
Right,
it's a good one.
I don't feel like one of those people that they're taking a sip and then they're swishing it around and trying to find the oakiness of the flavor. Yeah. No, it's just a really nice drink. And before this, we just got done working out our day one of our strength and conditioning.
Yeah, day one. Yeah, that was really good. It was
a lot of volume.
Yeah, it was a lot of volume. That was interesting. I didn't think it was going to be as tough as it got during some of those moments.
Yeah, we were benching, and we had to do our final set of bench was 5x3. at
Yeah.
80% of our 1 rep max.
Yep.
I'm not even lying to you. I think we did 2 sets and we looked at each other. I don't know if this is going to go down.
Yeah, we didn't think we were going to be able to do it. Like, five seems unreasonable.
That's kind of high.
For the first workout?
Yeah. I was surprised. There was quite a bit of volume on day 1. And if you're not used to that amount of volume, it's going to tear you up. Luckily, we're somewhat in shape from our years of CrossFit.
I would say I haven't lifted weights in a good 3 years.
I mean, I could tell.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I just naturally keep it. It's good. I like it.
So, but yeah, we did our day 1, and it was really good. I'm excited to see what the rest of it looks like. I like the accessory work. I like the strength and conditioning, or the strength part of it. We got to do farmer carries afterwards. I'm excited to see what he does for our squats, because squats are easily my favorite thing I do. So, but other than that, also we want to thank Crown Rash Guards for sponsoring this episode.
Absolutely.
Crown Rash Guards, man.
Yeah.
If you haven't checked them out yet, be sure you guys check them out, crownrashguards.com. I will be wearing my rash guard tomorrow to class.
I think I'm going to order another one, but I'm going to get a little bit larger size.
Yeah. What size do you have right now?
I got the medium.
That's right. And so if people are similar in size to you, what are you?
Right now I weigh about 178 pounds, and I'm 5'7". I would go with the large, honestly.
And I am 5'8", 6 foot on Tinder, about 210 pounds, and I have a large, and it fits fine. So it has a pretty good gap. I mean, I may be 210, but I don't know. I don't feel like I blowed out or anything like that, so it fits me pretty well.
Yeah.
So also, if you guys want to, be sure to check out, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe, leave a comment. We greatly appreciate it. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Check out our new website, elbowstight.com. We'll have merch going up there. And like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. All the stuff is going to be down in the description below of either the show notes or in YouTube. So be sure to check it out. Also, we will be posting a link to a Malbec somewhere if you guys want to check out a Malbec and buy a Malbec. So, but with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening to the intro. Enjoy the episode. I'm telling you, it's easily one of my favorite episodes we've done so far, and I'm looking forward to hopefully having more episodes like this. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you later. Peace. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Elbows Tight Podcast. It's your host, Travis and John. John, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I am fantastic. We have an amazing guest today. I can't believe it actually happened. The man, the myth himself, Jason Khalipa. How you doing, Jason?
Good, man. I'm excited to be here. You know what I love about this is that I'm watching you guys on the screen, and the first thing I notice is you guys have your names custom on the shirts.
It's funny. People get us confused all the time, even at work. It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, they're always like, hey, they'll be talking about John, and they're talking to me. Remember that one time that we did this? I'm like, I think you're talking about John, man. So, and it's also so we don't forget who we are too.
I love it.
So, Jason, how you doing today?
Good. Yeah, no complaints. I just got back from some of our gyms, and trained today. I did a lot of filming, and here we are, ready to rock and roll on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So, like we mentioned before, we like to do a beverage of the day with the guests. What you got for your beverage of today?
So we were talking about this a second ago before we started recording. I remembered you said this, but I didn't really think much of it at the time.
Right.
But it's 3 p.m. Here in California. It's a little too early for me to have my old fashioned yet. So I figure I came with the second best option. I just grabbed a peach flavored sparkling water. The brand is Waterloo, which I don't know. My wife bought it. It's actually really good. So that's what I got.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, no, what does it taste like? Is it like, what is that one that Will drinks in class? The one with the F, I think it has, that Costco sells.
Oh, you talking about it's got like the fruit juice in it or
yeah,
something
it's like
that?
Fruit flavored, but really it's just like sparkling water with a hint of something.
Sparkling water is really taken off, which is actually nice to see. I mean, it's so funny because as a kid growing up, and I don't know, you guys probably feel the same way. You go into the grocery store, and what you would always see is like these giant Pepsi pyramids, giant. Yep. And now slowly over time, you don't even see that anymore. If anything, at like Whole Foods and different types of markets, you actually see, that of sparkling water now. It just kind of shows how the trends have shifted a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, it's kind of the sparkling cider or the hard seltzers.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are taking off too.
Oh yeah.
I think it was Katie that showed me one. So there's the Truly brand, and so I was like, man, I tried White Claws. They weren't very good. You know, they're kind of like really watered down. And then she gave me like this black can of Truly's hard cider or hard seltzer, and I was like, I guess I'll try it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Those things are dangerous. They are delicious.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't feel as bad for drinking 2 or 3 of those. If usually I drink like an IPA, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of full. So
is it healthier if you do that hard kombucha? Because I've been seeing that everywhere. I've never tried it, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of.
I don't know, Jason. Do you think that'd be better?
I don't know. I mean, the kombucha stuff. You know, I was on the kick of I was on that kick for a while, and gut health, and I really went deep into like this idea of how to make my gut health as
right.
prime as possible. But I haven't messed with kombucha stuff in a really long time. But I think any of the hard seltzers, all those kind of things, you just look, man, it's just in moderation. If you want to drink some wine, if you want to drink some beer, you know, like I love a good hazy IPA.
Yeah.
I'm a hazy guy, and they have some new ones called West Coast IPAs too, which I feel like there's new IPAs coming out all the time. But yeah, hey, I'm all about it.
Yeah, yeah. So you got another question?
Well, I was gonna say it's funny because I went to Wine and More this afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and I just left San Diego. I've been down there for about 7 months, so I came across Stone Brewery.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they make a low calorie, like gluten free hazy IPA. That's what I was looking for here, and I had a picture of it on my phone.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, we actually have it in the back." So I was like, "Excellent!" So I got.
And
to
that's
load
the
up on here.
non-alcoholic one you said, right?
No, I do like that one too.
Oh, he had a non-alcoholic IPA before.
Yeah, it's made for like people that work out. I can't remember the name out off the top of my head, but Athletic Brewing, that's what it's called. It tastes good. It was legit.
Nice.
So I'd watch football and drink that, and it felt like I was drinking real beer, but without all the guilt. So it was good.
You were working down to San Diego for the last 7 months?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just got back 3-4 days ago.
yeah. I went down there for about 3 months and helped and worked down there for our job. We travel a lot. We usually go to Japan or San Diego, so we get to travel for our work for months at a time, which is nice. And then we got to meet some cool people down there. And unfortunately, I didn't get to train very much because I came back before they opened back up. But he got to train for a little bit down there, and then it locked right back down again. So
Oh yeah, that's what happened. I mean, here we are in California. So I mean, I'm sure you guys talk about this all the time on your show, but what do you guys do for work that takes you to Japan and Southern California?
we work for the government. We work for a shipyard over here in Washington. Yeah, so wherever the ships are that are part of our like area of responsibility, we go to them and help out and fix them. So
Nice.
Pretty much where
Awesome.
they got the carriers and the subs.
yeah.
Nice.
So
That's great.
we're both Navy vets too, so it's kind of right back into our alley of helping out. So
That's
but
awesome.
it's cool. It's the first time I went to Japan for work. It was 3.5 months, and I had got hired a month earlier. And they're like, "You want to go to Japan?" I was like, "Yes, I will go."
Were you in Okinawa?
No, we were in
Yokosuka.
Yeah, I've been out, I went out to the base out there in Okinawa. That was an interesting experience, but
Yeah, I hear it's beautiful
anyway.
down there. Yeah,
beautiful.
So, but like I said earlier, Jason is our guest today. I'm super excited about this. Jason, why don't you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself, and if whoever out there doesn't know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been, I trained in the CrossFit space for a really long time, competed professionally for a decade. I won the CrossFit Games. I placed on the podium, competed for Team USA a bunch of times. And I own a fitness company called NCFit. We have brick and mortar locations. We have corporate wellness locations. And we have a digital arm of our business. And I'm also a huge Jiu-Jitsu advocate. I'm a pediatric cancer advocate, but I'm a Jiu-Jitsu fan. And I'm a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu. Been that for about almost like a year and a half, 2 years. I got my purple belt maybe 6 months before COVID hit. It's kind of set some of the training back a little bit, but big fan of Jiu-Jitsu and CrossFit Games competitor, and that's it.
Yeah. So how did you? Because I knew you from. I've been doing CrossFit since 2013, 2014, kind of right when it took off. Like it was right when it took off, right?
Yeah.
And I knew you from CrossFit Games, and all that stuff, and was always a huge fan. And then I saw you one day actually, I didn't see. It was you. I saw BJJFanatics posted something about one of your workout things, and I was like, what? Like Jason Khalipa does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Then a little bit of research, I was like, holy crap, he's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What made you want to do that all of a sudden?
So, I mean, this is going way back. So earlier on, probably in 2009 and 10, I had a gym, and downstairs we did the CrossFit, and then upstairs we had a lounge, and then we rented it out to a Jiu-Jitsu studio. A gentleman's name was Stan Kendricks, and he was a badass black belt. And we would just hear the floor just bah. We'd be downstairs and it would just be bah. And I was like, man, one day, obviously I'm curious, and so I started training a little bit, but I had to be careful because I was competing professionally in CrossFit, and so I really had to make sure that I couldn't get injured. So that kind of sparked my interest, and I had gotten into Muay Thai when I was coming out of college. I was into Muay Thai and Sancho, like Chinese kickboxing for a while. So I was interested in martial arts. I then had Jiu-Jitsu, which got me really interested, but then I had to put on the back burner for a while because I was competing and that needed to be my focus. Once I pivoted out of competing professionally, I found Jiu-Jitsu again right when at a really kind of, I don't want to say pivotal point, but what happened was I competed at the CrossFit Games professionally up until 2015. In 2016, in January, my daughter got diagnosed with leukemia. And when that happened, I stopped competing professionally in CrossFit, which was a very easy decision to make. But I needed to find an outlet. And so I found Jiu-Jitsu in 2016, end of 2015, 2016. And I started there and just fell in love with it, man. The chess game, the dynamicness of it, the gi, no gi, the level of there's just so many things I fell in love with because as a competitor, it was really beautiful there was always something to learn. There was a lot of complexity involved, but a lot of simplicity at the same time. And you had a dynamic opponent. So whereas in CrossFit, or for me, I was so used to it being me against the workout, me against the event, competing in whatever it was, right? Running miles, swimming, whatever. But in this case, it's very dynamic because it's me against another human. And that was very intriguing for me.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from because Cody, the guy that teaches us, he was a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu, and we were, at the time, the first time I experienced his Jiu-Jitsu was we were at our very first gym up here in Washington State, and he was like, hey, let's go upstairs and wrestle, and he just manhandled us, and I was like, bro, he's like, I'm just a blue belt. He's like, just imagine, you know what I mean? And then that kind of sparked my interest, and we kind of just kept dropping the cues of like, hey, when are we going to start a gym? When are we going to start a school? When are we going to start a school? And now, man, same thing. Is like, it sparked. It's like, it grabs you. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so fun. And I love it.
He still manhandles us.
Yeah, he still manhandles us.
Later,
it's crazy.
Yeah. And so for me then over the years, right, I competed a few times. I competed at white belt once or twice, a couple times. I competed at blue belt a couple times. I have not competed at purple belt because of COVID and whatnot. Right. And I've still been rolling, but my newfound appreciation. So when I first got into it, I was wearing, always gi, very traditional.
Yeah.
I kind of came up in a little bit more traditional way, which was fine. And then you start getting experience in no-gi, and that's a whole different ball game. Yeah. And it's a completely different sport in itself.
Right.
And so as of recently, what my motivation has been is that my fitness has never inhibited what I want to do. So like my goal is to spread fitness to jiu-jitsu practitioners, to anybody, to make it so that if you and John want to, whoever wants to go run with their kids, go swim in the ocean, go do that, they should have the capacity to do that. Fitness should never inhibit what we want to do.
Absolutely.
And I dedicated my life to that, and it was very powerful because I can keep up with my kids, whatever. But now my motivation is, hey, I want to be at a point where this is selfish. I want to be the hardest person in the room to get in a fight with. Like that's a goal of mine.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily want to compete professionally in jiu-jitsu. I just want to be able to defend myself and my family in a room. And that's my internal motivation now for exposing myself to more jiu-jitsu, gi, no gi, and then combining that with stand-up.
Yeah. So what was it like during your first CrossFit class? Because we joke about it, and I thought I was pretty physically fit until the very first time I was on the mat for 5 minutes. And I thought to myself in the middle of the roll, if this were to happen in the street, I would literally die. Like, what was that like for your first time?
Yes, you're talking about my first jiu-jitsu class. So I started off with privates, and the reason for that is that I wanted to get a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when I went to my first class and I started exposing myself, it was really interesting because I was able to use my strength so well, but at times it'll backfire on you.
Right.
And what I learned really the hard way is that when I roll with white belts now, I know exactly how I was. And I feel bad for the people I rolled with because the white belts who are brand new, they're scary because they're very just spazzy. And that's what I was,
the best
right?
way
You're
to
kind of
describe it.
You're just kind of doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with my strength and conditioning background. So what I had to find myself early on is I had to, before I would roll, you get the little, you get your little shake going. I say, hey man, I'm just letting you know, I have a background in something else, but I don't have a background in jiu-jitsu, because I want to kind of break it down that like sometimes what would happen is I would grab someone's gi and they would feel my strength, and all of a sudden it would escalate on me, and it was my fault. I wasn't communicating well. I was being spazzy. I was using my strength too much, and it was throwing those guys off, and then they just ended up kicking my ass.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot the hard way in jiu-jitsu, and if I could go back and do it again, what I would have done is I would have tried not to rely on my strength as much in the beginning, really focus on the techniques, really take my time, and that would have helped.
Yeah, so you talk about competing. Do you feel like your strength helped during competing, though, at least because you didn't have to worry about like, oh, I don't have to kind of protect this guy or?
Oh yeah, from a strength conditioning side, it's a non-factor in jiu-jitsu for me, right? Because I've spent decades of my life training, I don't really have to worry about getting out of breath or losing grip strength or any of that kind of stuff as much as I do, hey, just not putting myself in terrible positions or not allowing someone to get me in a bad position. Now, I mean, of course I get in bad positions and people take advantage of it, but oftentimes what I've seen is that you got to find that balance between having great technique, but also still focus on your strength and conditioning, because when you find someone with similar technique to you, the strength conditioning becomes a huge factor.
Yeah.
If you can't breathe, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing we talk about too is like on the same playing field, like technique, in technique level out, but whoever's stronger usually is the one that's going to come out on top. So strength and conditioning, I definitely feel like I listened to this one interview, and this guy was talking about how back in the day, people would talk about strength and conditioning wasn't a part of jiu-jitsu. It was, if you want to be strong at jiu-jitsu, you do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's, especially with like your DVD sets and other people coming out with like strength and conditioning programming for jiu-jitsu, I think people are starting to turn that mindset to like, I actually kind of want to get a little bit stronger. And in order to do that,
Yeah, I mean, because here's a good way to look at it. If a black belt is rolling with a brown belt, purple belt, or even a black belt who doesn't have as good of technique, black belts become super, super efficient. They become very efficient. They're able to manipulate different people's positions, and they end up finding positions that they favor, right? They'll find side control, and they'll just sit there and they'll recover. And then when they're ready, they do something, right?
Right.
And at first glance, you're like, dude, that guy is crushing it. The challenge is when you're so proficient at an art, you lose out on some of the strength conditioning benefits because you find opportunities to rest. That same thing can be seen in sports. When you become extremely efficient, you could identify, and normally it's a good thing. The problem is in jiu-jitsu, if you find these opportunities all the time, you never test yourself and push your cardiovascular and your strength past where it's at because you're so damn good.
Right.
And so you got to get yourself off the mat, get yourself in training environments like the assault bike and back squats and whatnot, and then watch how those benefits transfer onto the mat.
Yeah, I think he's spot on with that. And, I can kind of relate. It's been a couple years now we've been doing it. And I've been on the weights, off the weights, working out, not working out. And I can tell when I'm not doing it for an extended amount of time that I'm much weaker in the jiu-jitsu game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we rolled for the first time in like 8 months, Tuesday night? And
me and him together.
Yeah, because we hadn't rolled for a while. And I was like, man, John, you need to step your game up, man.
Yeah, when you get tired, I mean, and this is one of my motivations from a law enforcement perspective. So we do a lot of stuff with law enforcement groups to try and work with them on their strength conditioning. I don't go in and talk about jiu-jitsu or self-defense. That's not what I'm an expert in, but I have an extensive background in strength conditioning. I try and help law enforcement groups because, what I worry about is if you get into some type of tussle and you can't breathe. When you can't breathe, you can't react well. And that same thing happens in jiu-jitsu. I mean, how many times have you had a crossface and you're getting side controlled and you're just fucking dying? And the only thing you want to do, I mean, I don't know how many times it's happened to me. I got to stop doing it. Is I'll be in a position where maybe someone's, I don't know, mounting me, right? And I hate it so much that you then give up your back.
Yeah.
Like, damn it, what was I doing? But you just, at that moment, it just feels so right.
Yeah.
Until it feels so wrong when you get your ass choked.
Yeah. My mind is telling me no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny. So you talk about like this Amrap mentality is like your big thing, and I think it's great, man. Like, it's honestly, since really digging into it lately, has really changed my mindset on how I want to do things. Do you do everything, including like your jiu-jitsu, with that Amrap mindset? When you go into class, are you focused? You're like, this is what I want to do. Do you have like a plan that you want to do that day?
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu is probably the best expression of Amrap mentality you could think of, because if you're not Amrapping with somebody, you're going to get choked.
Right.
And so the best way to think about it is the Amrap mentality is all about being present and focused and then switching gears to different things throughout the day. So right now, I'm with you guys. That's all I'm doing. I'm not on my phone. I'm not whatever. I'm just present with you. Then I'll switch gears and I'll be with the family, and I'll switch gears and I'll go do work or whatever. And when you Amrap, it's as many reps as possible. And it's like, hey, if I ask you to do as many push-ups as you can, think about like back in the day, maybe the Navy PT test or whatever. Like, you would just be all in right then. You're not going to stop and answer your phone. And so that's an Amrap. Now, the one great way to integrate that in your life is by doing AMRAPs in fitness. But jiu-jitsu is an AMRAP for 5 minutes or 6 minute rounds, depending on what you're doing. And if you get unfocused, even for a short minute, you'll lose that match. And so that's one of the benefits of jiu-jitsu that I think carries over into real life, is that it teaches you how to be present in that moment at that time. Because if you're not, you got big issues. So that's the way I try and incorporate it in my life, though.
Yeah, one thing we've heard about too is people talking about how jiu-jitsu is kind of meditative, right? Like they're all they're focused on is that one thing right now. They completely shut out the rest of the world, kind of like, and their supreme focus is on jiu-jitsu, and it's kind of like a stress relief, right? Like in a sense, like you're still worrying about people choking you, but it's like, I don't have anything else in the world that I care about right now besides this person trying to attack me. You know what I mean? And it's honestly, I have my son in it also, and he has his 2 daughters in it. And there's just something to be said about, one, an authoritative figure outside of our household that holds them accountable. And then 2, they're physically active, that's making them think, rely on their body and how they're going to move and whatnot. And it's phenomenal for kids too,
And it's nice watching them get comfortable. I remember when they first started doing this, they were just so uncomfortable being that close to another kid. And, you just watch that maybe for about the first week, 2 weeks. After that, they don't care anymore. They're just rolling, I like to see that.
With the kids, it's exceptional. I mean, it's really, really exceptional. So with my daughter, I do a lot of stand-up with her.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have some background in it, enough to know what a jab is, but I'm not an expert by any means. But, I hit focus mitts with my daughter, and she really enjoys that. And we do other forms of fitness, but she's that. But my son has really taken a liking to jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and it's been a great journey for him and I, because it's something we could do together. I'm normally on my knees, and then I transition, and we're working snap downs, we're working different types of rear naked chokes, and it's really fun to watch that. And he's now 6 going on to 7. I think he's finally getting to that age where he kind of is starting to get it. I don't know how old your guys' kids are, but maybe you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, my son's 12. He started it 10, 11 years old, and he's a very introverted kid, and he was like kind of shy about it and whatnot. And then he did it for about a year, and he said, I was just talking about this last episode too, and he said, I don't really want to do jiu-jitsu anymore. I was like, all right, you've competed in jiu-jitsu. You've been doing it 2-3 times a week for a year. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I don't want to force you to do it. And then COVID happened, and I was like, okay, now you got to do something. So he got back into jiu-jitsu. And the last couple classes, he's like excited when he's in class. He's all like, he's like, man, I'm a 2-stripe white belt. Like, you know, I have seniority over these kids. And like, you know, it's like, he's like, do you think I should like go out all out on them? I was like, Charles, I think you should do whatever you need to do to you know, get going. You know what I mean? So it's cool to see the excitement of, you know, and then the understanding more of his body and how he's doing. So how about you? How do the girls do it?
Yeah, mine are 13 and 7. And they started probably 2 or 3 years ago with me. And my youngest, she competes with me. So last time she competed in her 6-year-old bracket, and I competed in mine. So I have a lot of fun with them. She's definitely the more aggressive one, but the older one likes going too.
Do you plan on having your son compete at all, or?
Yeah, I want him to get into wrestling just because around here we have a good wrestling program, and I want him to get in whatever he wants to get into. But he definitely he has a body type to be pretty well focused on wrestling. But you know what I like about it a lot too, and this is something I actually talk to him about regularly, is I talk to him about the ability to be able to defend yourself, and it's really important. And the biggest bullies I witnessed in high school, in college, were always the people that were a little bit insecure with themselves. Those were the people who always bullied. And I told him, I said, you know, I always want you to be in a position where you could feel comfortable in your own skin, defend yourself, but you never, ever, you know, like you set the tone, like, hey, you're not going to be bullying people.
Right.
And frankly, you need to stand up for people who are being bullied. But if I could teach these life skills now at a young age to feel self-confident, to learn discipline, and to have this set of skills, I think it'll just carry over forever. Because, you know, it's the guys who really felt uncomfortable that always seem to deflect. So that's something that's important to me. I want to try and instill that in him.
Yeah, I completely agree. So you're instilling, you know, success and then discipline in your son, like you just said, at a very young age. What was it like growing up in your household for you to be so successful as you are? Like what made all that happen?
I mean, I think obviously the parents, you know, created a really great environment, but I was surrounded by some really cool people. So I started working at the health club when I was really young. I think I was 15. I was working at the front desk, 15, 16 years old. And I started surrounding myself with all these people who would come in, and they would be traditional health club. And then as I stayed there throughout high school, then they opened up a kickboxing studio, and I was surrounded by those type of people. And then a Jiu-Jitsu studio actually opened up in there, and I was surrounded by them. And as I went through and I got into college, I became a salesman there, and I learned the ins and outs of business. And so I was surrounded by a lot of people at a really early age who were just hard workers. Like, not only my parents, in addition to them, right, was all these people at the gym, a lot of hard workers, a lot of dedication. I don't know if I realized it until later on in life, right, where you would see these members come in and they would be sacrificing things to try and accomplish their goals. And that was impactful on me as I'm working, because I worked every weekend when I wasn't playing football or whatever in high school. And I would just work the weekends. You get to know people, and you're working the front desk selling Gatorades or whatever. And you would hear people's stories and get to know people's struggles and then how they're overcoming them. And I think maybe that kind of laid a framework.
Yeah, because how many locations do you have now for your NCFit?
I think I saw over 20 when I was looking.
Yeah, so you know, because of COVID, things have changed a little bit for us. But basically, we have like 17 or 18 right now, and so those are. So we have like corporate wellness locations. Two of our biggest partners are Western Digital, and then Lucas Films are two of our biggest partners. And then we have our own brick and mortar, and then we have licensed locations. So we have 100 locations that license the NCFit mark. So those are our licensed locations. But the ones that we actually own / operate, I think right now it's like 17. COVID's kind of shifted some things. We've really pivoted more towards digital, which we have a large kind of online business that we focus on right now.
Have you ever thought about opening, say, a school or something like that, like trying to transfer over your expertise into another market?
Like in Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, like maybe Jiu-Jitsu or something like that?
I got to be really careful. So, you know, I'm really passionate about Jiu-Jitsu. I love the guys at BJJFanatic, Sherry Roll. I have great relationships. I love rolling, but it's definitely more of a hobby to me than a business to me. And I have to be careful for our staff and for our team not to let them feel like I'm pulling in my personal biases and my personal whatever into our business. If there comes a time where, you know, things are rocking and rolling and there's a good opportunity, maybe we could do some type of collaboration. But for now, it's just like my personal thing. Like when we get a new garage or whatever, I'm going to deck it out with solid mats. Like,
yeah.
I was actually talking to my wife about building out an entire room in our house just for jiu-jitsu, and then having our training area in the garage.
That'd be cool. We have in his basement, when COVID first happened, we had just 2 mats down in his basement, and we had our little our little iPad, and we would do technique off our iPad on each other. And then also in Japan, Sundays it was just us in a big open gym. You know what I mean? So I know exactly what you're talking about. Our garage is getting decked out in a home gym right now. I'm trying to figure out how to put the mats down in the garage.
Yeah, no, it's great that you guys have you guys for training partners. That's awesome. That's one of the reasons why I think jiu-jitsu is going to come back. I think CrossFit, I think boutique fitness is going to come back really well too, because people miss that social interaction.
Yes.
But jiu-jitsu, probably more than anything, it has pluses and minuses, right? So the plus is that you can't do jiu-jitsu pretty much on your own. You can't. I mean, as much as people want to work technique on their own and watch videos, it's just not the same. But the minus is you're really close contact.
Yeah.
So I think once the COVID kind of transitions and more of the vaccine is out, I think you're going to see a huge spike in jiu-jitsu gyms, personally.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too, because I know plenty of people who are wanting to do jiu-jitsu, but because COVID, they're like, I just can't. I can't risk it. So,
right.
But you talked about your BJJFanatics, how you're friends with them. How did you come along with getting your own instructionals and like DVD sets out on BJJFanatic?
I got connected to BJJFanatics a while ago, and we created a really cool relationship. And I think it was through my network, and I don't know, but whatever it was, we started talking. I was like, hey man, we should try and focus on putting out something for jiu-jitsu practitioners that talks about strength conditioning and what I've seen based on my experience. And so I'm really careful on that DVD to really appropriately acknowledge, like, hey guys, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I have a basic understanding and a framework. I consider myself a subject material expert over here in strength conditioning. I'm going to talk to you about how I like to blend the two. And I really, I don't come off as a jiu-jitsu expert, because that's not what I am, but I want to share what I've learned. There's movements that pack a really big punch for jiu-jitsu. And if you could only pick a few, those are the ones we really spoke about, was ones that like, hey, if you can only do a few things, this is what we got.
Yeah, John and I go back and forth about, like, I feel probably the most beneficial, and every time I talk about someone that has strength and conditioning background, they're the complete opposite of me, but I always feel the squat is like a very beneficial, in my eyes, probably the most beneficial, because I feel my hips have always been the thing that's helped me out the most in jiu-jitsu. But I always hear deadlifts, right? Like everywhere we go, I always hear people say deadlift is probably the most beneficial thing for jiu-jitsu. Which one would you say?
Ah, man, that's a great question. I actually would probably go with squat over deadlift personally. And the reason why I'd say that is a high bar back squat really benefits for range of motion, flexibility, but more important than anything, it's just like the king, the queen. It just is, like, because you're loading your spine so much so, and you're resisting so much change that your body has no opportunity. It has to adapt. So when you think about training, you really want to think about placing your body underneath some type of stress to create some type of adaptation is a good way to think about it. And the deadlift is a great tool, right? Takes the bar from the ground to a standing position, really recruits your posterior chain, great hamstring strength, flex. So if you're looking for that type of thing, maybe for pulls, right? It's great for jiu-jitsu. I'm not saying it's not, but if I had to pick one, the squat works many of the muscle groups that the deadlift does, but I think that the squat incorporates them a little bit differently, because you have to work so hard to keep your posture in a great position that you really recruit your entire muscle system, versus the deadlift is just a little bit different there. That's just my opinion. I mean, if I had it my way, I would have you squat, deadlift, and bench press, or some type of press once a week, no question.
That's in our workout plan.
You want to talk about that?
Those three. Well, we're not going to say the name of it now, right?
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're kind of doing
unbiased opinion to people.
We're doing a strength for jiu-jitsu program right now, and we just got our one max reps.
Yeah,
this
one
week.
rep max this week.
So we're going to start it Monday, but all three of those are into the workout.
Yeah, they start you off finding your one rep max of squat, deadlift, bench, and strict press. So.
Yeah, and the only area where I have a little bit of discrepancy there is that I don't know if I'd recommend anybody without like a lot of training trying to go for a one rep max.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's only, for me, I think there's a lot of building a 1 rep max is really important because you have a baseline. The challenge is a lot of people don't move that well, especially without having an eye of a coach on them.
Absolutely.
It's like your first exposure to jiu-jitsu and you're trying to rip an arm bar. There's a risk of injury there that might not be worth it. Maybe let's just slow it down, for example. And so instead with what I would recommend is 5x5s, tempo work. Those things can have really dramatic impacts on your strength and not place your body in such a compromised position.
Yeah, this is the second strength and conditioning program that I've done for Jiu-Jitsu. The other one, they start you off with a 3-4 rep max and stuff. Well, they don't say max, they say work up to a heavy 3. They don't want people, you know what I mean? But right. And then they work off of your percentage, they base your 1 rep max off of that. They don't have you go to an actual 1 rep max. So, yeah. Which I thought was really kind of smart after I dug a little bit deeper, and it was like, oh, that makes sense. That's why we've never maxed out during this. They're like, nope, you don't need to.
You don't need to. You get strong. And something else you could think about, you don't really have to go that heavy. You could also do tempo work. So, for example, if I'm squatting, I don't know, let's just say 400 pounds, right? And instead of just kind of hitting my reps normal, if I tempo it, right? 3 down, 1 at the bottom, 1 up, I'm now putting more time under tension on my body. And that's a great way to develop strength versus pure strength. And so what I like to do nowadays is I like to decrease the load, increase the duration that I'm underneath that stress. And that helps me to feel the position more, to not feel like I'm going to break my back, but instead feel like I'm really getting stronger because of the slowness versus the actual load on it. That's just for me and where I'm at in my journey. If you had asked me that same question 6 years ago, I would have told you something completely different because I was going to try and win the CrossFit Games. At that point, I was deadlifting, back squatting, clean and jerking, and snatching heavy weights all the time.
Yeah, so we were talking about kind of like resources to finding out more information, and you've mentioned limitless resources, especially with the internet. Where do you go to, since especially now during COVID time, where do you go to kind of feed your need in your brain if you have any questions or something?
For what? For fitness? For jiu-jitsu?
For both.
For
fitness and jiu-jitsu.
Well, I mean, obviously, I've downloaded some of the BJJFanatic videos, and I'll watch some of those, like from Gordon or whoever. When it comes to fitness, I mean, I traveled the world for over a decade meeting with the best in their class, from rowers to Olympic weightlifters, because I was trying to win at a sport that combined it all. And now what I do is just try and continue that exposure just through practical application in our gyms. But I don't necessarily research as much as I used to. I more research new things. Like, for example, I've gotten into roasting my own coffee. I like to learn about that. I like to get into, smoking my own, smoking meat. How can I learn how to do that better? Or, in the future, I'd love to be able to make my own beer, make my own wine. And these are some of the additional kind of like things that I'm exposing myself to for learning. But right now, it's mainly, for me, it's all about business. And, spending a lot of time trying to pivot our business and get to the next level.
Yeah, you mentioned roasting coffee. I know you're a coffee connoisseur in the sorts. Actually, I messaged you on Facebook because I saw you had the Breville, and I think that's kind of like what started this conversation. And I told my wife right afterwards, because I didn't expect you to message me back, tell you the truth. And then I told my wife, I was like, baby, Jason Khalipa just messaged me back on Instagram. She's like, really? I was like, yeah, he has a Breville. She's like, how does he like it? I was like, he says he loves it. And so we got one. So,
dude, I'm telling you, it's so funny about the Breville. So when it came to espresso, I got really into espresso. And so I wanted to find a new espresso machine. At the time, we had like a Nespresso machine. It just felt too automatic, felt too
Keurig-ish.
And so I started looking up manual, more like, less automatic, more manual style grinders and whatnot. And there's a really big gap between really shitty ones. And then you have like the Breville, and they, $600-700, whatever. And then it jumps up to like multiple thousands. But for the Breville right now, as I'm learning the craft of espresso with roasting my own beans, grinding my own beans, or putting whatever, I think the Breville is a great investment. I have no sponsorship deal with them. I have no vested interest. I just think that for the price, it goes a long way. Because I've been able to mess around with some, like at parties and stuff when people come over, pre-COVID and then current COVID, it's small parties. you'll make like some cappuccinos or lattes, and it's kind of cool because that's something that most people don't have all the time.
Yeah. I actually literally before we came on, I was like, oh, I need to get a drink. I was like, I'm kind of tired. I got class tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and make a coffee. And so I made a quick double shot right then and came in here and got on. It's like, that's what I've been sipping on right here is just I made a little coffee. It's great, man. I absolutely love it. My wife, she was a barista for a while, family-friendly barista. And she's like big into coffee. And so she's like trying things and she's like, I'm sure you're probably the same way, but whenever my wife has an idea in her mind, she's like digs as deep as possible into everything about it. And so the reason we didn't get it is because she was digging so deep into coffee machines. I was like, babe, we spend like $10, $15 a day in coffee. We should probably just get a coffee machine.
I've got a lot of coffee machines. I can't even, I got the Brasseur. Have you seen that one? That's like the alarm clock that brews the coffee next to you. It's got like, it looks like a science experiment. It's got the glass flask and all that.
Wait, does it do a pour over?
Yeah.
Over? It sprays.
Yeah.
It blooms it, and then it goes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have that. I bring that to work. Like that's on my desk at work. I don't care. And then I have another one where you grind the coffee in the cup itself, and then just pour it right over, so I can have fresh grounds at work. Because I don't like buying the nasty coffee. But,
Yep. It's funny, man. When you get into coffee, there's a whole slew of things. And so it starts off with like, how can you consume coffee? Well, got your old school drip, you got whatever. But then all of a sudden you start getting a French press, espresso, AeroPress, pour over, you name it, right? And I bought them all. And then you're like, well, dude, like I kind of want to try this whole roasting thing. And that's been a whole, if I could do it over again, my recommendation to anybody who wants to learn how to roast their own coffee is I'd start off with a manual roaster and not an automatic one. So I bought originally a real roaster. It was like $300, but it was very like you hit a button and kind of watch them fly around, and it was a little bit more technical. And the other one I have is just like old school. Like you go in the backyard, you use a propane, like an outdoor grill, and you just kind of shake the coffee beans, and it just, there's something about it that's pretty cool because you feel like you put in the work to get the beans ready.
Yeah, it's kind of like mining for silver or gold, right? You're like this one little thing is like amazing because I worked so hard to get it. Where did you like get the idea of wanting to? You just like one day you're like, you know what? I really enjoy coffee. I'm gonna try roasting. And then, how was your first experience doing it?
Oh, it was bad, but yeah, I mean, what happens is because of social media, right? Over the years, I've gained a decent social media following. We have a lot of friends in a lot of areas who have different interests, right? From hunting and archery to coffee to this to that to jiu-jitsu. And so all of a sudden I'll start sparking up a conversation and I want to learn more. And with roasting the beans, it was really interesting because I wanted to have, I didn't know how the process worked. And so it's not that hard. But my first time, I definitely burned the hell out of them. And now I finally got to the point where they're better. They're not good, but they're better.
One last question about this is,
sure.
Where do you get raw beans from? Do you order them online?
Yeah, so you can order them online. There's like a place called Mama's something that I've ordered them from once. But fortunately, back to the whole social media thing, I've just had people reach out. I had this one guy send me green beans from his farm in Guatemala, and this hella sucks. So this guy reaches out to me. He sent me all these videos of him like, picking the beans. Like I'm like so fired up, right? Sure enough, they get to me and customs slit both of them down the middle with their knife and then repackaged them. And I'm like, I was like, come on, guys. I mean, I get it. It totally looked like drugs, but it was they just, so the beans ended up all over the place. So I got to try that again. But yeah, some people have sent me green beans. It's been a really cool experience.
That's cool. So what's next for Jason Khalipa?
We're pivoting hard to digital, and we're going to be providing the end user. So our business has been big in digital for gym owners. We have a large network of gym owners that use our tools, but now it's time to really go and approach the end user, the person who's in their garage, the person who's at their gym.
Smart.
And so we're about to be laying out some new tools for them, some new apps, some new things that I think I'm really excited about. So that's going on there. Obviously, just navigating COVID and trying to keep the family healthy and keeping the relationship strong. And, that's really important from a family perspective. And, from new things I'm exploring, I'm exploring some new bikes. I want to start, trying to get in longer bike rides. So that's about it.
So we like to ask this question to every guest that we have, especially with someone that's not a white belt. It's a great question to ask. What would your piece of advice be for a white belt just starting out, or maybe getting the blue belt blues that haven't gotten the blue belt yet?
The blue belt blues. I haven't heard that one before. I think what I would say is like, hey, this is an art that you want to do for the rest of your life. Just like fitness is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And, although you want instantaneous results, it takes time to develop, and just to acknowledge that, right? You need to earn the confidence through reps and reps and reps. Practicing the armbar one time, coming back the next class and expecting you to remember it. Don't put that much pressure on yourself. Like, just take your time, because know that it's just part of the journey. And eventually you're going to hear these things like barambolos and, you're going to hear all these terms. In the beginning, you won't know what they are, but as you start to kind of pursue the journey, that's the fun in it, because there's always something to develop as you go. So that's my advice. It's like, it's going to take longer than you anticipate to grow the awareness, but once it starts, it's just a really beautiful education.
Yeah, it's like cascading. Like, once you start understanding the very fundamentals of things, it's just your knowledge and your awareness just spike through the roof is what I've noticed too.
Yeah, and me and Travis, we're always trying to talk every one of our friends into coming to jiu-jitsu. Like, we try. And I think the biggest thing we always hear is, I need to get in shape first. And I'm like, well, that's just not going to work. Like, you'll get in shape.
No.
Just come in.
And even if you're in good shape, man, you're still going to get your ass kicked when you come in.
That's what I tell them. It doesn't matter.
What does it matter, dude? It's
sure.
like when I was a CrossFit coach. I got my CrossFit level 2 and everything like that. I was a CrossFit coach for a while, and I would talk to people about the same thing. It's like, it's funny how your passions, you try to spread your passions to people, right? When I was a CrossFit coach, my passion was getting people, kind of like you said, into CrossFit and then getting them healthy and watching the transition. And I would tell people, I'm like, look, man, just come try it out. Like, I promise you'll be addicted. People love the community, the workout's easy. It's brainless. You just come and perform. And they're like, oh man, I need to get in a little bit better shape before I do that. I'm like, that's where you're losing it. It's like, no, you don't need that. Like, it's literally can be made for you. Like, you don't need a general fitness to come in to do CrossFit or, to be fit, to become fit. You just need to start,
Just got to show up.
It's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. And I think once COVID gets a little bit better and public perception shifts, I think you're going to see a lot more people getting into it. I miss rolling with large groups. I'm just not there. It's one-on-one, it's with the mask on, and it's outdoors right now for me. And that's just where I'm at. And in the future, I'd love to, be in those big groups, but we'll see when the time is right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, John, you got any more questions for Jason?
I do have one question since you have such a good background. I was curious, what I've found too is, so I can only speak for myself, but what I found is when I was still into CrossFit and Jiu-Jitsu at the same time, I had to choose between if I was going to continue with Jiu-Jitsu or continue with CrossFit. I found that I couldn't do both. And I don't know if that's because, my CrossFit class was at 4, it'd run till after 5, and then I went straight to Jiu-Jitsu. And I'd do that for the next hour and a half. And I found I just couldn't keep up with the two. Do you think that you got to have time either totally separate to do something like that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's tough if you want to try and do both on the same day consistently. I think especially for like working professionals or people who are in their, late 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, my recommendation would be to pick and choose, It depends what you want to focus on. So if you say, hey, my goal is to get my purple belt, for example, whatever, right? Well, then maybe you need to put a little bit more time in the jiu-jitsu. So maybe jiu-jitsu is 4 days a week and your strength conditioning is maybe 2 or 3. And maybe one of those days you double up, but you do it in the morning and evening. But you got to kind of weigh your so like, let's just say you're a CrossFitter, but you want to try and get into jiu-jitsu. Let's just say, well, you might CrossFit 5 days a week because you're trying to compete somewhere. You might do jiu-jitsu once or twice. Or it might be the difference. You want to compete in jiu-jitsu. Well, you got to prioritize that and then do this maybe only twice. The challenge is you need to listen to your body. So if your body's feeling super beat up, it's just not going to be sustainable. And so the recommendation would be, for me, my thing is I get in my fitness every day because I've trained this way for a very long time. And then especially pre-COVID, I needed to get in rolls 3 days a week. That was my goal. So it's training, CrossFit, strength conditioning every day, and then getting in rolls 3 days a week. And that's what's worked for me because my body responds well to it. But as you know, man, if you go in for a hard day of training, your body's beat up.
Yes.
And so I can't do it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. We were talking about the other night, man. That's a good question.
Well, I've always been looking for like, man, I wish, for the strength for jiu-jitsu. I felt like, if I did 50 thrusters and 600 wall balls and then I went straight into a jiu-jitsu class, I was like, I can't feel my arms. My elbows are killing me.
I can't grip a lapel. Like, what do you?
And my legs are shot.
And you're just overtrained, know? And I think for a lot of years, I probably overtrained. I think mentally, I just kept telling myself the more I trained, the better I'd get. But now that I'm a little bit older, more mature, I see the results I'm still getting by training less.
Yeah.
It's like, man, maybe back then if I had just recovered a little bit smarter, what would have happened? But who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can everyone find you, Jason?
I mean, Instagram's a great place at Jason Khalipa. You can go to nc.fit. That's our website. You can go to nc.fit on Instagram. And you can go to jasonkhalipa.com. Yeah. I mean, if you're a gym owner, there's a business of fitness podcast. That's really, really niche. And that's about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for coming on the show, man. I know you're a busy guy, and my apologies for earlier today, but I'm glad, I'm really happy that you said that you could still do it today, man. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I was looking forward to this a lot. So
yeah, man, it's been great talking to both of you guys. And I hope you guys have a great evening. I hope your kids continue to enjoy jiu-jitsu.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, John. That's all we got for this.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, so appreciate everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks again, Jason. And remember, no oil checks here. You're not going to say it?
I'm not saying it.
Oh, later, guys.